You know, the lesson tonight is a reminder to us that the lessons we have learned so far in life, did you learn anything? I know I learned some things in my first 20 years of life, then I learned some even greater things in my next 40 years, and now I'm in my 60th years, and I'm still learning things. The thing about going through an experience or going through something in life is that you learn the lesson. Because if you don't learn the lesson, it was a wasted experience for your life. So a lot of people don't learn, and they have to continue to go through the same thing over and over again because they won't learn the lesson. God's intentions behind the experiences that he brings in our lives is to teach us a lesson. Sometimes what God's teaching us, it causes us to avoid a lot of pain and suffering, a lot of failures in life. If we just learn that lesson the first time, we wouldn't have to repeat the same mistake a second time. But some people are hard-headed. Some people just don't never get it. Sometimes you look at them and you say to yourself, well, when is that boy going to ever understand? When is that boy going to ever get the message? When is he going to ever wake up and smell the coffee, as some people say? But sometimes some people, for some reason, they just can't never get it. When you think about the story that we're going to talk about, the children of Israel, you think about like they should. Some of the things that they had gone through should have taught them something, but they didn't. And they saw some of the most amazing things that most people would have died to see or experience. And yet they went through those experiences without learning a thing. You can't just walk out of bondage and not learn what freed you. That's foolish. I mean, you don't know what set you free. You couldn't free yourself. You know your friend didn't free you. You know your enemy didn't free you. You should learn who set me free. And then another lesson you should learn, why did he set me free? They never learned that lesson. All the years that God was leading them, they never learned that lesson. And for some reason, people today, a lot of times, even church people, they don't learn that lesson. You don't play with fire, because you're going to get burned. I don't care. Even me being in the church 40-something years, I don't play with fire. Same thing that can happen to somebody who's been here, say, 1 year, same thing can happen to me. The thing is, God don't want you to ever get so overconfident in yourself and your ability and your smarts where you think you can do it without him. And you'll do it all the time. You'll feel like, I don't need God's help. I know what to do. I've done this before. And you thinking you can do it the same way again. And God sometimes will allow you to go through that same experience and do it a different way so you won't fall so in love with your one way of doing things. How many of y'all know God got plenty of ways to open up the eyes of the blind? God got plenty of ways of freeing people from paralysis. God got plenty of ways of doing miracles. He just don't have one way of doing the same miracle. He have plenty of ways. But for some reason, people just try to put him in a box and you can't do it. And so the lesson to be learned, this is a very important lesson in the sense that a lot of Christians don't believe that what happened to Israel, which was a church in the wilderness, would be the same results of the church today. They feel like, we're under grace. And we are under grace, but you got to understand, the church in the wilderness was under grace. And people say, well, they was under law. No, they was under grace. Nothing that they got, they deserved. God did it for them out of his grace. I mean, if you thought about those peoples and the attitude that those peoples had, you had to say it was the grace of God that sustained them for the way that they came out of Egypt, through the Red Sea, and all the way into the wilderness. So Paul takes us back to the church in the wilderness, and he's trying to open up the eyes of the church at Corinth. So looking at your notes and say, Paul certainly knew his Old Testament. His readers would recognize the events referred to in these verses of Scripture. The lusting, which is found in Numbers, the 11th chapter. The adultery, which is found in Exodus, the 32nd chapter. The fornication, which is found in Numbers, the 25th chapter. The Israelites often tempted God, but perhaps Paul was talking about Numbers chapter 21, verse 4 through 6. And that was the reference that Paul had in mind. And for their complaining, Paul used Numbers 14 chapter and number 16th chapter. This kind of sin is serious, and God must judge it. The Israelites were saved from Egypt, but were not privileged to claim their rich inheritance. And Paul was not suggesting that his readers might lose their salvation, but he was afraid that some of them might be disapproved of God and unable to receive any reward. It's going to be a sad day for people who have been in the Lord to stand before Christ and have no reward. That's going to be a sad day. Can you imagine all the opportunities you had to gain something, and then you get that and you have nothing? That's going to be a sad person. All right? Now, it says these things were our example. We are to learn from them and not to make the same mistakes. The children of Israel were actually examples for us, showing us what would happen to us if we also partake of evil things as they did. The same results of destruction for the modern Christian as for the Israelites of old, if the modern believer insists upon living in sin. I heard about a pastor who gave a series of sermons on sins of the saints. One member of the church, apparently under conviction, disapproved of the series and told the pastor so. After all, she said, sin